couple of things that I want to add to it that I didn't mention that to me would probably gonna wrap up this part of the conversation. A very important principle in working with children is mutual respect. And it's very, very important because children need an experience of both getting respect and giving respect. Doesn't mean that we give in. Doesn't mean that we're getting on the level of children and we don't respect ourselves. But we do respect their striving. We do respect their desire to belong and to feel significant, to contribute. We do respect their efforts. And if we give it to children, then they will, that's part of encouragement for them, but it's also a good teaching moment because they will know how to respect others. And we want children to grow up respectful. For them to grow up respectful, they need an experience not only respecting, but also being respected. So this mutual respect is so very important in Adlerian parenting. And so respect and cooperation. Cooperation is a key of Adlerian psychology, Adlerian parenting, Adlerian counseling. Rudolf Dreikurs, and you see his portrait right above me here, said, life presents only challenges that requires cooperation for successful solution. There are no challenges in life that cannot be solved with cooperation. So if the challenges are not being solved, that does not mean that the challenges are too big. That might mean that maybe we didn't cooperate enough and we can do more of cooperation. And to me, every time when I see whether it's family challenges or country goes through challenges or universe, the whole planet goes through all sorts of challenges, I can see that not that the challenge is too big, but the cooperation is too low. So if the challenge is not solved, whether two siblings fight, or parents fight, or family is not healthy, or a school class is not doing well, or the country is not doing well, or the whole world is not doing well, it's not about how big is the problem. It's about how not enough cooperation being used yet. And to me, this is the most optimistic, or one of the most optimistic parts in Adlerian psychology, is that there is a solution to challenges, and the solution is cooperation. And again, Dreiker said, life presents only challenges that requires cooperation for successful solution.
So you just emphasize two key points. One is respect, mutual respect, and another one is cooperation or collaboration.
Yeah.
And I think these two is very important, really important, and at the same time really difficult. So like me as a parent, I'm not very familiar with respect because I'm not raised by this kind of way, this way. So I myself didn't experience respected by others, especially my parents or the adult or teachers.
Yeah.
So then I need to really practice or be aware of how I communicate with my kids. Right. So that's why we have a whole parenting program to provide to the audience to learn, because it's easier to think about the word, but it's really difficult to really do it. It takes time to practice.
Yeah. And I understand, I hear you, because I'm thinking about my own childhood, and it was probably in some way similar, because respect was only expected to be in one way, and that is children do respect adults. And this is great, and this is good, and this is necessary. However, if children only have experience in respecting others, then when they grow up and becomes adults, so it's very difficult for them to live. So respect is a two-way street, and it requires practice. And I would say it also requires courage. because it might be difficult for an adult to say, like, why would I expect this little thing that cannot even make breakfast for themselves? But we do respect striving, we do respect efforts. There is always, if only we want to respect, we can always find something that would be respectful. And that's a nature of encouragement too, because we basically saying, the way you did the dishes today, or the way you did scrambled eggs this morning for the family, or the way you helped me maybe to swipe the floor, that was very good. So we don't need to say the word, I respect you, because it's very, that word means nothing. It's a too big word to chew for a little child, but we communicate respect by behavior. And if you remember, Adler said that if you try to really understand human behavior, and that would be in parenting, to close your ears and watch where the feet are moving, right? So another way of saying that is that we don't listen to what the tongue and the mouth says. We look at what the tongue and the shoes, like where it's going. And so there are many ways to show respect to what the child is doing, to the striving, to the challenges, to the attempt, to the courage. If only we can practice, but everything takes practice. Even brushing teeth takes practice, right? Making breakfast takes practice. Walking takes practice. There is nothing in life that is good that does not take practice, right? So then, and we teaching children how to brush their hair takes practice. Using chopsticks takes practice. All the good things take practice. Respect takes practice too.
Yeah, and I think why respect and collaboration is so difficult to parents, I think parents are really freaking out of losing control. We're afraid that if I respect you, this little guy, then, you know, I may lose my control, my position. And if I work with you, then we become equal. And then you may talk back, you may discuss negotiation with me. And how can I, you know, prevent my position? So yesterday, my girl asked my husband that, father, it's unfair. I think you should talk, you don't respect me. I think we should respect each other. You don't yell at me or talk too loud to me. I feel scared. I hope you say things with me like gently, especially when I make mistake or when I could not calculate the mathematics. And my husband at that moment, he was emotional. He was angry because my girl take like half hour and could not figure out the result of the mathematics, and he was very angry. And my husband said, you know, I am your father. You need to get used to my tongue.
Yeah. You know, it's such a, you know, and thank you for sharing. It's such an important example. It's probably very typical one too. And two things that come to my mind. The one is, we do remember that next to each discouraged child, there is always a discouraged parent. My guess is that the conversation that you shared with us, this exchange, we probably had two discouraged people. We had a discouraged child who didn't know how to do math well enough and probably didn't believe. And then we had and worried about that and didn't feel being good enough in math. And then we probably had a discouraged father who didn't feel like they can do good enough parenting and stay cool and be in control. So you're putting the two discouraged people next to each other, and that becomes a very discouraged family. That's my first reaction. My second reaction is, I do believe, and I absolutely need to say that there are situations in life when parents need to say, well, because I'm your father or because I'm your mother. There are certain things that we do not like. Do you brush your teeth? We don't discuss that. We don't cooperate on that. There is no give or take. There is no contract. You know, there's no discussion whether it's good or bad. We do that because we need to survive, because we need to have healthy teeth, right? You know, we need to eat. So there are certain things that are probably non-negotiable. Doesn't mean that we don't talk to children about that. We'll say, okay, so this is thing that, and we can just say, as long as we are clear and say there are certain things that are non-negotiable. Brushing teeth is non-negotiable. Eating healthfully is non-negotiable, right? We don't negotiate that. We don't discuss that. And it's not about respect. It's about what, you know, we do so we grow up healthy and we don't get sick, right? You know, we stay hydrated. We go to school. You know, certain things are not. Now, how we do that, we can fight about brushing teeth, or we can just brush teeth and then have time for play. What do you choose? You don't choose to brush your teeth or not to brush your teeth. You choose how you do that. Then let's talk about how. Let's fight for half an hour, then you brush your teeth, then you go to bed. Or let's brush your teeth and then you play for another half an hour. What do you choose? And then the child will choose, or will have a choice, and then we will respect the choice. If they want to fight with us, that's a choice. That's okay. But brushing teeth, if that would be an example, this is non-negotiable. So mutual respect and cooperation is not about giving up control at all. And you ask such a good question, because a lot of times when we are afraid to give up control, it's not about our children. It's about us. It's about us. It's about if control over children is the only thing that we have left, and if we feel like we give up control and we'll have no control in life whatsoever, then we got to deal with our problems. And the solution can be, is there anything else in your life that you feel, because children are gonna grow up and start living adult life anyway. Our attempts to hold a grip on them is only lasting for as long as it lasts, until the children will just grow up and still do the things that they need to do and they want to do. But it's not about having, it's a feeling of control, the feeling of certainty, the feeling of competence. And I also believe that a lot of times what looks like sense of control, the reality is that it's a need to feel competent as a parent. It's not, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times it's not, I do have control or I don't have control over the child. A lot of times is that, am I competent as a father or as a mother? Am I doing good enough job? Am I raising, I don't know, like an idiot? Am I raising somebody who's completely incompetent? Do people watch me, look at me and think that I completely messed up as a parent? Do people judge me? So it's a lot of times it's really about us, right? And then, and this is when we need a lot of encouragement ourselves. But the thing is that it's always, whenever we see a child who is chronically, consistently misbehaving, not like your daughter yesterday, because I know there was just the only one time in her life that she did that. But when we see the child who's consistently misbehaving, next to this child, we will always see, we believe, first of all, that this is a discouraged child. Dreiker said there are no misbehaving children, there are discouraged children. This is what Dreiker said. This is where we're going in Adlerian psychology. Now, what we want to add to it is that next to each misbehaving child, next to each discouraged child, we will 100% see a discouraged parent. So both of them need courage, not just one. And this is a holistic thing, because the whole, if one family member is discouraged, we cannot see that the family is healthy. We cannot say, oh, the family is healthy, it's a good family. It's only one child who is discouraged or who is like misbehaving. No. So the family, each family is only as healthy as each person is healthy, emotionally healthy. If at least one person in a family emotionally is not healthy, the whole family is unhealthy.
Yeah, thank you. So you point out what I understand is that we see a family as it's a system, ecosystem, right?
Right.
So if one person from that family has problem, that's maybe like the iceberg, top of the iceberg, and then we
Right.
can imagine, we can understand that under the water,
Yeah.
bigger parts.
Absolutely.
That's the family. Each people may have some discouraged moment there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Okay.
even among siblings, we can see if you only look carefully, and let's say you have 2 children in a family or 3 children in a family, and one of the children is, let's say, is misbehaving, like didn't do good enough job at school or whatever, didn't do chores, whatever it is. What does the second child do usually?
If the first one not good at, right? Or
like let's say the first one broke a cup or whatever, or just did something bad. What does the second child do right away?
Want to do it better or show to the parents that I am better. I'm good.
Yep,
I'm better than the first one. See, look at me. You know, I didn't make mistake.
Yeah, I was good.
She did.
Right. Yeah, and say, "Oh, mommy, don't cry or don't be upset." Right. And so this happens automatically all the time, this way or another. And what it tells us is that we see that one kind of unhealthy thing sets a chain of some other unhealthy, because that child trying to show off how good they are, then that's also unhealthy. So we can see how it's getting kind of unbalanced, right? And the mother is, or father or grandparent or whoever is there would kind of get sucked into this whole unhealthy system a lot of times, because the one is say, "Oh, you go to the corner," or "I don't want to talk to you anymore, I don't like you anymore, you always do that." And then we'll start placating this child. "Oh, okay, no, I'm not talking to you about that. I'm not, I'm not raising your voice with you. I'll go play, or it's okay, yeah, you go." And so then we can see how, if only parents are not careful, but it's very emotional moment. It's hard to think at this moment. We're going from our emotions, from our impulses, but we can see that there is no such a thing as like healthy family if at least one child is unhealthy. One parent is unhealthy. It's like it is, this is rule number 1, right? And we don't want to raise having this child who's always good, a model one, a perfect one, is probably, you might say, well, what's wrong with being model, right? But it's a model not in a natural way. It's a model in trying to win parents' attention, to win parents' favors. And then when this child grows up and becomes an adult, they're going to continue on, or might continue on this pattern. And that's not going to be very good for them, because they will have very difficult time at work. They will have very difficult time in a business. And then they will know how to cooperate, because their winning favor is happening not in a cooperative way. It's very vertical, at the expense of the other. And this is what might model the peer relationships in the future, when they're going to be at the workplace or in a business together with somebody, right? So, and that's why it's so important to look at the family holistically. And when people come and say, "Well, I have problem with my child, can you work with my child?" I always say, "Okay, we'll work with the whole family." Because a family is only as healthy as the least healthy person in a family is. Thanks for giving an example and asking these wonderful questions, Julie.
We ourselves also need to grow and heal and be encouraged enough, so that we have the power to support the power, the encouragement, the wisdom, the tools to support our next generation.